The streets of Atlanta are buzzing, the cameras are rolling, and the tea is scalding hot because the unthinkable has just happened. After years of ruling the love and hip-hop empire with their messy marriages, unforgettable scandals, and endless betrayals, Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris have reportedly been fired from the show. Yes, you heard that right, two of the franchise's biggest faces. Gone overnight, leaving fans stunned and the cast scrambling to make sense of the chaos. Producers haven't said a word officially, but insiders claim the decision came after explosive behind-the-scenes confrontations, a secret recording, and a shocking betrayal that changed everything. Some crew members are calling it the most dramatic production meltdown in love and hip-hop history. Others say it's part of a secret rebranding move that aims to bring in a younger, wilder cast. But whatever the truth is, one thing's for sure: Atlanta's reality TV royalty just got dethroned. And the new faces coming in are already promising to turn the entire show upside down. The rumors started circulating when Yandy Smith posted a cryptic story on Instagram, a black screen with nothing but a broken heart emoji, and the caption, "Loyalty doesn't live here anymore." Within minutes, blogs picked it up, speculating it had something to do with Mendeecees walking off set during filming. But that was just the beginning. Sources close to production say Mendeecees got into a heated argument with producers after being confronted about an alleged secret relationship with a new female cast member, a rising rapper who's already making waves for all the wrong reasons. The fight escalated so badly that cameras had to stop rolling for the first time all season. Kirk, on the other hand, reportedly stormed out after an on-set intervention gone wrong, when Rashida's tearful breakdown turned into a full-blown shouting match that left crew members in tears. Fans are calling it love and hip-hop's biggest shakeup in a decade. The internet is divided, some celebrating the decision, claiming the show needs fresh blood, while others are heartbroken to see the OG couples pushed out like yesterday's drama. But wait until you hear who's replacing them. Word is, producers have already signed a lineup of newcomers with explosive storylines: a R&B singer with a secret baby, a social media influencer caught in a love triangle with two cast veterans, and even a former Atlanta athlete whose scandalous DMIs might become the centerpiece of the next season. If you thought love and hip-hop had lost its spark, think again. The tension is building, alliances are shifting, and the new cast is ready to claim the throne left behind by Kirk and Mendeecees. But here's the real question: was this truly a firing? Or part of a bigger power play between the producers and the cast, who think they're untouchable? Stay tuned, because what's coming next might just change love and hip-hop forever. Cameras had barely stopped rolling when the tension that had been brewing for months finally exploded. Kirk sat at the edge of the production trailer, his jaw tight, eyes burning with disbelief as producers whispered around him. It was supposed to be another routine day on set. Another argument with Rashida for the cameras, but this time the words cut too deep. She had thrown her wedding ring on the table and said, "You care more about airtime than our marriage." That one line, caught perfectly by the boom mic, shifted everything. Kirk stormed out before the director could yell cut, slamming the door so hard that one of the assistants dropped her headset. Meanwhile, just 2 trailers down, Mendeecees was pacing, phone pressed to his ear, muttering, "They think they can play with my name like that." He was furious. Yandy had found text messages between him and a new female rapper joining the show, and she wasn't quiet about it. She showed the messages to the producers, who saw gold in the scandal. They wanted it filmed. Mendeecees refused. That refusal, they said later, was the start of his downfall. As the day went on, the energy on set turned poisonous. Crew members avoided eye contact, and the cast sat in tense silence between takes. The director tried to calm things down, but nobody wanted to listen. Then it happened, the argument that sealed Kirk's fate. He returned to confront Rashida after cooling off, only to find her talking privately with one of the executive producers. "So this is what it is now," he snapped, stepping closer. "You airing me out to them before we even talk?" Rashida didn't flinch. "You made this public the second you cheated again," she said. Kirk's eyes widened. That accusation wasn't in the script. Crew members froze as he shouted back, "That's a lie. And you know it." Rashida's tears came fast, real this time. And suddenly it wasn't just a show anymore. Within minutes, security had to step in as Kirk threw his mic pack and stormed off set again. Later that night, he called one of the producers and demanded that scene be deleted. The answer he got was simple: "That's not how reality TV works." At the same time, Mendeecees was dealing with his own chaos. Rumors of his off-camera affair spread through the production team like wildfire. The new rapper, who went by the name Lyric, denied everything. But screenshots began circulating in a private cast group chat. Someone had leaked them, and nobody knew who. Yandi confronted Mendeecees in their dressing room, her voice trembling but sharp. "Do you even realize what this does to me? To our family?" she said. He looked down, whispering, "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" she snapped back. Producers caught wind of the argument and rushed in to get cameras rolling, but Yandi pushed them out, shouting, "This is my real life, not your storyline." That one outburst made headlines before the episode even aired. Fans flooded Twitter, split between defending her and accusing her of playing victim. The chaos was perfect for ratings but devastating for everyone else. By the next week, Kirk refused to return to set until the network released a statement protecting his image. They didn't. Instead, they scheduled a meeting with both Kirk and Mendeecees to discuss their future with the franchise. Insiders say the meeting was explosive. Kirk accused the producers of exploiting his marriage. Mendeecees accused them of planting the scandal. One of the executives allegedly replied, "You guys built this drama. You can't blame us for showing it." That line set Mendeecees off. He slammed his chair back and said, "Then you can find someone else to play your villain." The room went silent. After that, neither he nor Kirk showed up for filming again. The crew was forced to shoot filler scenes with supporting cast members, but the chemistry was gone. The show felt hollow. Ratings dipped slightly, and that's when the network made its bold move. The call came on a Monday morning. Both Kirk and Mendeecees were officially out. The statement was brief, due to creative direction changes. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta will move forward without Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris. But everyone behind the scenes knew the truth. It wasn't creative, it was chaos control. Kirk's temper, Mendeecees' refusal to follow the storyline, and the growing sense that the show's veterans had become bigger than the brand forced the network's hand. But just when the news broke, the internet lost its mind. Fans flooded Instagram, tagging Rashida and Yandi in comments like, "How could they do like this?" and "Love and Hip Hop will never be the same." But others weren't as sympathetic. "It's about time." One tweet read, "The show needs fresh faces and new mess." That same night, word spread that producers had already been auditioning replacements in secret for months. The new cast was younger, flashier, and far more unpredictable. One of them, a 23-year-old R&B artist named Nova, was rumored to have a secret connection to a well-known Atlanta producer, one who used to work with Kirk. Another, a TikTok influencer named Brielle, was said to be dating a rapper still legally married to another woman on the show. It was a recipe for disaster, and the producers loved it. Kirk, watching all of it unfold from home, posted a cryptic message on Instagram. "Loyalty is a word people use until it costs them something." Within minutes, fans flooded his comments, some begging him to speak out, others accusing him of playing victim again. Meanwhile, Mendeecees stayed silent, which only made things worse. Blogs began speculating that he had signed on to a rival network's project, one that planned to expose the truth behind Love and Hip Hop. By midweek, production insiders leaked that Yandi had refused to film confessionals without Mendeecees, and Rashida was considering walking to. Producers scrambled, offering bonuses and restructured contracts, but the damage was done. The original heart of the show was fractured beyond repair. And yet, behind all the chaos, something unexpected was brewing, a secret plan that would drag both Kirk and Mendeecees back into the drama whether they wanted it or not. Because for Love and Hip Hop, scandal is currency. And even when you're fired, you're never truly gone. It started to. Weeks after the firing, when a blurry video surfaced online showing Kirk arguing with a man outside a downtown Atlanta restaurant. The man, identified later as one of the new cast members, named Rico Blaze, was shouting something about stealing storylines while Kirk tried to keep his voice low. But the cameras caught enough. Blogs ran with it instantly. Former cast member Kirk Frost confronts new Love and Hip Hop star in public. One headline read, "Within hours, the clip had over 1 million views, and fans were convinced the feud was far from over." Insiders claimed that Rico was originally supposed to replace Kirk's spot as the Atlanta mogul with marital drama. But he'd started mocking Kirk on set, calling him the old man with no hits. When Kirk found out, he lost it. According to sources, producers secretly encouraged the tension, hoping to film a dramatic confrontation. They got more than they expected. Around the same time, Yandi received a call from one of the show's producers begging her to reconsider her decision to quit. They offered her a separate spin-off, centered on her adjusting to life without Mendeecees on screen. She was hesitant at first, but the paycheck was tempting. Then came the twist: the network wanted to pair her with one of the new female cast members, Brielle, The young influencer known for stirring trouble, Yandi didn't trust it. "You're trying to make me look like the bitter wife again," she told the producer. He promised it wasn't that, but the leaked casting notes said otherwise. They described Yandi's role as the veteran who refuses to let go of the past. Once that leaked online, fans accused the network of exploiting her heartbreak. Hashtags like #JusticeForYandy started trending, and within days, she became the most talked about person in the franchise again without filming a single scene. Mendeecees, meanwhile, was quietly meeting with another network to develop a reality series of his own. The working title was Family First, and insiders said it would focus on redemption and rebuilding trust. But what nobody knew was that he was also in contact with a few of the fired Love and Hip Hop producers who had left under controversial circumstances. They wanted revenge. They planned to leak unseen footage and unedited audio from past seasons, exposing what they called producer manipulation. When word of that got back to Mona Scott-Young, the executive producer behind the entire franchise, she was furious. One insider claimed she called Mendeecees personally and said, "Don't forget who made you famous." He reportedly replied, "Fame don't pay bills, Mona." That call, according to those close to production, marked the point of no return. While all this unfolded, Rashida was fighting her own battles. The departure had tanked sales at her boutique, and rumors began spreading that she and Kirk were living separately. In an attempt to clear the air, she went live on Instagram, but it backfired when fans flooded the comments asking if she would join the new season as a guest. She denied it. Then her phone started blowing up with messages from unknown numbers threatening to release private voicemails if she didn't tell the truth about Kirk's last day on set. Nobody knew who sent them, but Rashida was shaken. She called Kirk, but he didn't answer. Later, he told a friend he thought it was all a setup by producers to keep their names in headlines. "They'll do anything for ratings," he said bitterly. And ratings, indeed, were slipping. Despite the flashy new cast, fans complained the new season lacked authenticity. One episode featuring Nova, the R&B singer, ended with a staged fight that felt so fake it went viral for the wrong reasons. Comments poured in calling it discount drama and scripted nonsense. Desperate to fix things, producers floated an idea that would change everything. They would bring back Kirk and Mendeecees for a surprise mid-season episode. It wouldn't be official, just a reunion of legends filmed under the guise of a charity event. The two men didn't know it yet, but the offer was already in motion. When Kirk got the call, he laughed. "They fire me, and now they want me back." The producer tried to convince him, promising it would be good exposure for his brand. Kirk hesitated but said he'd think about it. Mendeecees, however, was more calculating. He saw an opportunity. "I'll do it," he said, "but on my terms." His terms included full creative control over how his scenes were edited, a demand producers had never granted before. Surprisingly, they agreed, but only because they were desperate. The filming was set for the following week at a lavish event in downtown Atlanta. No one, not even the new cast, was told who the surprise guests would be. On the night of filming, the tension was electric. The new cast strutted in, dressed to impress, oblivious to what was about to unfold. Nova arrived in a glittering gown, Brielle in a designer jumpsuit, and Rico Blaze with a gold chain so heavy it looked painful. The cameras rolled as the host began introducing the guests. Then the doors opened and in walked Kirk and Mendeecees. The room froze. Gasps filled the air. Nova whispered, "Ain't no way." Brielle's jaw dropped. Even the producers couldn't contain their excitement as the cameras zoomed in on every shocked expression. Kirk smirked, nodding slightly at the stunned crowd. Mendeecees walked in behind him, calm but unreadable. It was reality TV perfection. But what happened next wasn't in the script. Kirk walked straight up to Rico Blaze, the man who'd mocked him online, and extended his hand. The gesture seemed peaceful until Rico muttered something under his breath that made Kirk's face harden. "You're done here, old man," Rico said quietly. Kirk's jaw tightened. "Say that again for the mic," he replied. And he did. Chaos erupted. Glasses shattered. Security rushed in, and the crowd screamed as Kirk lunged forward. Mendeecees stepped in to pull him back, but the damage was done. Cameras caught everything. Within hours, clips leaked online under the caption, "Kirk Frost returns and brings the heat." It was messy, dramatic, and exactly what the network wanted. The following morning, headlines exploded. Love and Hip Hop legends crash new cast party. Brawl breaks out during surprise filming. And fans demand Kirk and Mendeecees return. The footage broke the internet. Suddenly, the network had no choice. They invited both men back. Officially, But what nobody knew yet was that this return would ignite a chain of betrayals, secret alliances, and shocking revelations that would make the previous scandals look tame. And while fans celebrated the comeback, behind the scenes, a storm was brewing that threatened to tear the entire franchise apart once and for all. The next week began with producers scrambling to control the fallout from the chaotic event. While social media exploded with memes, the network's public relations team tried to spin the brawl as a misunderstanding between passionate personalities. But the footage told a different story. Every entertainment blog replayed the moment Kirk threw a drink across the table, while Mendeecees tried to restrain him, shouting, "This ain't the place, bro." Fans couldn't get enough. The hashtags #KirkReturns and #Mendeecees moment were trending for 3 days straight. For the first time in months, ratings soared. Executives were thrilled. They called an emergency meeting to discuss reinstating both men as permanent cast members. But not everyone agreed. Some of the newer cast members, especially Rico and Brielle, were furious. They felt overshadowed, convinced the show would now revolve around the returning veterans. Behind closed doors, they plotted to take back the spotlight in the most destructive way possible. On set, the atmosphere was thick with rivalry. During confessionals, Nova admitted, "I respect Kirk, but he brings drama that don't end." Brielle smirked into the camera, saying, "They call it old-school energy. I call it washed-up energy." The producers loved every second of it, editing their comments to build tension for the next episode. But Kirk had bigger problems. His relationship with Rashida was hanging by a thread. After the brawl, she refused to speak to him, saying he'd embarrassed her publicly once again. "You said you were done with this kind of mess," she told him during a tense phone call, her voice cracking. Kirk replied, "I didn't start it." "You never start it," she shot back. "But you always finish it with a headline." The silence that followed said more than words. She hung up before he could answer. Meanwhile, Mendeecees found himself caught between loyalty and ambition. His return had reignited old fan interest, but it also put new strain on his marriage. Yandi was torn. Part of her was proud that fans still loved them, but another part feared history repeating itself. "They're gonna drag us back into the same mess," she said, pacing the living room while Mendeecees scrolled through his phone. "Not if we control the narrative," he replied calmly. "This time, they work for us." But even as he said it, he knew the producers were already editing footage to create tension. One leaked email showed a storyline summary titled Mendeecees, Redemption or Relapse. That leak went viral overnight, convincing fans he might be caught cheating again. The comments section filled with speculation, and the pressure mounted. As production resumed, things spiraled further. Kirk and Mendeecees were brought together for a joint scene to address the brawl. The producers wanted calm reconciliation, but what they got was an explosive argument. Kirk accused Mendeecees of not backing him during the fight. "You just stood there while he disrespected me," Kirk shouted. Mendeecees snapped back. "I stopped you from making it worse." "Worse," Kirk barked. "You made me look weak." The argument escalated until Mendeecees stood up, chest tight, and said, "You care more about how you look than fixing your life." The room went dead silent. Even the cameraman froze. Kirk glared at him for a moment before walking off set without a word. That clip became the most replayed scene of the season teaser. Fans went wild, dividing into camps Team Kirk and Team Mendeecees. The drama had turned personal, and the producers milked it for all it was worth. But what they didn't realize was that Kirk was already planning his own revenge. He started meeting privately with an independent reality producer, who offered him a deal for a spin-off focused entirely on his life after Love and Hip Hop. The pitch was simple: show the real Kirk Frost, the man behind the scandals. Kirk liked the sound of that, but to make it work, he needed a shocking finale that would make his exit unforgettable. Back at the main set, tensions between the old and new cast reached a boiling point. During a group dinner scene, Brielle confronted Kirk directly. "You think this show needs you," she said, twirling her glass, "but the new generation's running things now." Kirk laughed bitterly. "You can't even keep a storyline without mentioning me," he replied. "You're a guest in my house." Rico jumped in, slamming his hand on the table. "Your house? Nah." The locks changed. Suddenly, everyone was yelling. Nova tried to calm them down, saying, "Yo, this ain't worth it," but nobody listened. Producers kept the cameras rolling as plates crashed and insults flew. When Kirk finally stood up and walked out again, the director whispered, "We just got our finale." What nobody saw, though, was the quiet scene that followed. Mendeecees caught up to Kirk outside the restaurant. The night air was heavy, the parking lot half empty. "You can't keep doing this, man," Mendeecees said quietly. Kirk turned, eyes tired but defiant. They keep pushing. I'm gonna push back. And then what? Mendeecees asked. Kirk sighed. Then I walk away on my own terms. Mendeecees nodded slowly, understanding. If you walk, they'll replace you in a second. Let them, Kirk said. But they won't replace us. It was a moment of brotherhood between two men chewed up by the same machine, both trying to reclaim their stories. Neither realized that the microphones hidden under their jackets were still live. The next morning, producers had the audio. By noon, they decided to use it. They framed the moment as the final goodbye between two legends, cutting it into the season finale trailer. Kirk was livid. He called his lawyer, threatening to sue for using the footage without consent. The network didn't flinch. Instead, they leaked rumors that Kirk had staged the entire thing for attention. The damage was done. Social media was ruthless, mocking him for fake deep moments and hypocrisy. Yet the controversy worked. The season premiere broke viewership records. Executives celebrated, while Kirk quietly packed his bags for his new deal. As for Mendeecees, he started to see the cracks forming again. His redemption arc was being twisted into another scandal. An anonymous source told a gossip blog that he'd been secretly filming meetings with rival producers while still under contract. Within hours, the network released a statement calling the claims under review. Mendeecees' phone rang non-stop. Yandi was in tears, saying, "They're doing it again. They're dragging us." He promised her it would be okay. But even he wasn't sure anymore. Somewhere deep down, he knew that on this show, no one ever truly wins. The higher you rise, the louder the world waits for your fall. And just as he started to find peace, another leak dropped a video that would destroy what little reputation he had left, and drag Kirk back into the storm with him. The leaked video appeared without warning one Friday night, posted by an anonymous account that called itself Leaks. Within minutes, it spread across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The clip showed Mendeecees at what looked like a private studio party, sitting close to a woman who fans immediately identified as Lyric, the same rapper he'd been accused of having an affair with months earlier. The audio was grainy, but one line was Claire Mendeecees' voice, saying, "You know I can't be seen with you right now." That single sentence set the internet on fire. Yandi's name began trending, and bloggers scrambled to spin the story before dawn. The video was barely 10 seconds long, but it was enough to reignite every rumor, every accusation, every wound that never really healed. Fans were ruthless, accusing Mendeecees of betraying Yandi again, while others argued it was a setup. Within an hour, Yandi deleted her Instagram profile picture and posted a black screen with the words, "Don't play with me this time." The silence that followed was louder than any statement. The network's phones were ringing non-stop by morning. Executives wanted answers. Producers swore they had nothing to do with the leak, but insiders whispered otherwise. One production assistant, who later got fired, told a blog that the footage had been sitting in the archives for months, cut from an earlier season after Yandi threatened to quit. Somebody inside wanted this out, the assistant claimed. The theory made sense, especially since the timing was too perfect. Ratings had dipped again after the Brawl episode, and suddenly this scandal gave them exactly what they needed. But for Mendeecees, it was personal ruin. He went live on Instagram that night, looking exhausted and defensive. "That video's old," he said, shaking his head. "They took something out of context to make me look bad again. I've been faithful. Y'all can believe what you want, but I know my truth." The live barely lasted 10 minutes before trolls flooded the comments. Some called him a liar. Others begged him to win Yandi back. But what caught everyone's attention was Kirk, quietly commenting under the video with a single word, "Truth." That comment sent shockwaves. Fans immediately speculated that Kirk was either defending him or confirming the scandal. Yandi, seeing it all unfold, called Kirk directly. "Why would you post that?" she demanded. Kirk sighed. "I wasn't taking sides. I was saying you can't run from truth, it always comes out." "You sound just like them," Yandi snapped, her voice trembling. "You all feed off the chaos." Kirk didn't respond. Deep down, he knew she was right. This was the machine they had all helped build, and now it was eating them alive. As the drama spiraled, Rashida re-entered the spotlight. She posted a long caption about healing and letting go of what no longer serves your peace. And fans immediately connected it to Kirk. Though she didn't mention him by name, the message was clear: she was done. Kirk responded days later with a video of himself driving in silence. A single caption underneath, "Sometimes silence says it all." It was petty, poetic, and perfect for the tabloids. But while fans were dissecting his every move, Kirk was working on something bigger. His new show, tentatively titled Frost Effect, had begun filming quietly in the background. The crew was small, independent, and determined to give him full control. The first episode, insiders said, would feature a raw, unfiltered look at how he was betrayed by the industry. But what Kirk didn't know was that Love and Hip Hop producers were planning their own counterattack. An explosive reunion special that would drag every secret back into the light. The reunion was marketed as the Night of Truth. Invitations went out to the entire cast, past and present. Yandi refused at first but changed her mind after the leak, saying she wanted to set the record straight. Mendeecees hesitated but ultimately agreed, knowing the public wouldn't let him stay silent. Kirk said no until Rashida unexpectedly agreed to appear, saying she wanted closure. "If I'm showing up, you should too," she told him on the phone. After a long pause, he agreed. The night of the reunion, the studio was transformed into a glittering war zone. Lights, cameras, champagne glasses that nobody touched. The audience buzzed with anticipation as the host began introductions. Fans watching the livestream flooded the chat with fire emojis and predictions about who would explode first. Kirk and Rashida sat on opposite ends of the stage, while Mendeecees and Yandi occupied the center couch, stiff and tense. The first hour was time rehashing old feuds, playing clips, letting everyone air their grievances. Then the host turned to Mendeecees and said, "The video that shook the internet, was it real?" The crowd gasped. Yandi looked straight ahead, her face unreadable. Mendeecees took a deep breath. "It was real," he said slowly, "but not what people think. That was before me and Yandi got back together. They cut it to make it look new." The room buzzed with murmurs. Yandi's eyes filled with tears. "So you lied about it being old?" she asked quietly. He turned toward her. "I didn't lie, didn't explain it right. There's always an explanation with you," she said, standing abruptly. The audience gasped again as she walked off stage. The cameras followed her backstage, where she broke down, sobbing to a producer. "They promised they wouldn't bring that up like this." The producer muttered, "We didn't plan it that way," but she knew it was a lie. Meanwhile, on stage, Kirk spoke up. "This is what they do. They twist everything so we keep bleeding for views." The host tried to cut him off, but Kirk kept going, voice rising. "You think it's entertainment, but these are real lives. Real families getting torn apart so y'all can trend for a week." Applause broke out from some of the audience members, while others shouted back, "Then why are you here?" Kirk glared at the camera and said, "Because I'm taking my story back tonight." What happened next stunned everyone. Kirk reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive. "This," he said, holding it up, "is footage they never wanted you to see." The crowd erupted. Producers rushed toward him, but it was too late. He handed the drive to the host, saying, "Play it." After a brief hesitation, the lights dimmed and the screen behind them flickered to life. The footage showed behind-the-scenes clips of producers manipulating scenes, feeding lines, cutting audio, and encouraging fights. One moment showed a producer whispering to Yandi before a confrontation, saying, "Cry right after he says that, it'll look better." Another showed Kirk being told to fake a phone call about an argument that never happened. The audience was silent, jaws dropped. By the time the lights came back on, chaos had consumed the stage. Producers shouted to cut the feed. Security rushed in, and the live broadcast was abruptly ended. Fans watching from home were stunned. Within minutes, clips of the reveal flooded social media. "Kirk just exposed the entire franchise," one tweet read. Another said, "This is bigger than reality TV. It's reality warfare." Mendeecees stared at Kirk, shaking his head slowly. "You really did it," he whispered. Kirk looked back, calm but defiant. Someone had to. And as the room descended into confusion, one truth became undeniable: love and hip-hop would never be the same again. As the production lights dimmed and the cameras stopped rolling, the entire Love and Hip-Hop crew was buzzing with disbelief. Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris, the backbone of Atlanta and New York's most explosive storylines, were officially gone. It wasn't just a rumor anymore. Producers had confirmed it in a quiet but deliberate internal email that somehow got leaked. And when that message spread across social media, chaos followed. The internet exploded overnight. Fans couldn't believe that VH1 had decided to cut ties with two of the show's longest-standing figures. "This can't be real," one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "No Kirk, no Mendeecees. What's even the point of watching anymore?" But behind the scenes, producers were already celebrating the next era. Word was, they were cooking up something even messier, something that would pull the audience right back in. The new cast wasn't just here to replace Kirk and Mendeecees. They were here to dominate. Inside a lavish penthouse in Atlanta, the new members had already gathered for their first official meeting. Crystal, a bold newcomer known for her viral rants on Instagram, tossed her hair back and smirked. "So they think we can't handle this?" she said. "Baby, I am the show." Next to her sat Trey, an aspiring rapper with a past tied to one of Mendeecees' old associates. He leaned forward, his voice low and confident. "If they think they've seen drama, they ain't seen nothing yet." The chemistry was electric, but it wasn't friendly. Before filming had even started, there were already whispers of fights, jealousy, and betrayals brewing among the new stars. One of the producers, caught speaking off the record, reportedly said, "Honestly, this new cast makes the old one look calm." Meanwhile, Kirk and Rashida were still reeling from the sudden news. The couple had been sitting in their boutique when the call came in. Kirk had tried to play it cool, but Rashida's face said everything. "They really just gonna throw us out like that?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Kirk sighed, rubbing his temples. "We gave them years, Shida. Years. And now they're saying we're too predictable." The irony was sharp. Kirk and Rashida had built their entire brand on surviving scandal after scandal, only for the network to label them too stable. Mendeecees, on the other hand, wasn't taking it quietly. He jumped on Instagram Live the next morning, his tone sharp. "They trying to silence real men," he said to his thousands of viewers. "We gave them ratings, we gave them moments, and now they acting brand new." Yandy appeared briefly in the background, her expression calm but tight. Fans noticed immediately. Comment sections flooded with speculation, some accusing her of knowing before the public, others insisting she was quietly negotiating something behind the scenes. "Watch Yandy end up with her own spin-off." One comment read, "She too smart not to." And maybe they were right. Reports surfaced that Yandy had been approached for a new project centered around women entrepreneurs, one that would air on a streaming platform instead of VH1. But as all that brewed, the new cast was already stealing the spotlight. Their introduction trailer dropped just a week after the firings, and the internet lost its mind. In the 30-second clip, Crystal was seen throwing a drink at Trey during a heated argument. Another newcomer named Sasha was crying over a cheating scandal, and a mysterious voice in the background yelled, "You don't know who you're messing with." Within hours, the clip racked up millions of views. Fans were divided. "This looks fake." Some said, "Bring back the originals," others demanded, but others were hooked. "Nah, this energy different," a comment read. "This about to be wild." Kirk couldn't resist responding. He posted a now-deleted story that said, "Let's see how long y'all last when the cameras stop rolling." Moments later, Rashida shared a cryptic message of her own. "Sometimes being quiet is the loudest move." The tension between old and new was clear. Insiders said that producers had deliberately set up a potential crossover special, where the fired cast members might confront their replacements on live TV. "They know people want to see a face-off," one insider revealed. "And trust me, both sides are ready for war." Behind the scenes, Yandy was said to be privately furious that Mendeecees kept talking online. "You're making it worse," she told him during a heated argument caught by a fan outside a restaurant. "They're using your anger to build the new show's hype." Mendeecees shot back, "I'm not about to let them disrespect me for clout. I'm not about to let them disrespect me for clout." Back and forth became yet another trending topic. Fans debated whether their marriage could handle the pressure now that the cameras and paychecks were gone. But the drama wasn't over. During a press event for the new season, Crystal was asked how she felt about stepping into such big shoes. She smiled coyly before saying, "Let's just say, some people's time had to end for real stars to shine." The audience gasped, and that clip instantly went viral. Kirk reposted it with a single emoji and eye roll. Mendeecees commented under a blog post, "Good luck staying relevant for more than 2 episodes." Producers couldn't have planned it better. They'd successfully turned a firing into a full-blown rivalry. Fans were choosing sides, gossip blogs were feasting, and VH1's name was back at the top of trending charts. But deep down, everyone knew this was just the beginning. Kirk and Mendeecees weren't about to fade quietly, and the new cast wasn't backing down. What no one knew yet was that an even bigger scandal was brewing. One that would tie both generations of love and hip-hop together in ways no one saw coming. The scandal began with a single post, one blurry photo uploaded to a gossip page with the caption, "Old cast and new cast caught in the same club." And it got messy. Within minutes, the internet erupted. People swore they could see Kirk and Trey standing toe-to-toe in the background while security tried to step in. The rumor was that producers had arranged a private meet-and-greet between the old and new stars to test potential crossover chemistry. But things spiraled out of control the moment the cameras started rolling. Witnesses claimed Kirk accused Trey of mocking his legacy, shouting, "You think you built this show? I am this show." Trey laughed it off, but Crystal jumped in, snapping, baby, your time's up. It's called evolution. According to insiders, that line alone set off chaos. Drinks flew, security rushed in, and the footage, though unreleased, was being shopped to every gossip outlet in the business. It was too juicy to hide. VH1 tried to contain the damage, but the public wanted answers. Blogs began running conflicting headlines. Kirk and Mendeecees crash new cast event. VH1 stages fight to boost ratings. Rashida confronts Crystal over disrespect. Everyone had their version, and none of them matched. Rashida later went live.com but visibly irritated. "We were invited," she explained. "We didn't crash nothing. But when people come at you sideways, don't expect silence." She didn't name names, but fans knew exactly who she meant. In the comments, Crystal responded with a simple, "Ma'am, nobody's checking for you." And just like that, another feud was born. By the next morning, both women were trending. Kirk reportedly called a meeting with his manager, saying, "They're using us to hype their flop season." But Mendeecees, ever the strategist, saw opportunity. "Nah," he told Kirk during a private phone call that later leaked online. "We about to make this work for us. They want views. Let's give them something they can't control." That same night, Mendeecees and Yandi appeared at a red carpet charity event with paparazzi swarming them. When asked about the firings, Mendeecees smiled and said, "Sometimes God closes a door so you can build your own house." Fans immediately speculated that the couple was planning their own reality project. Insiders confirmed talks were happening between Mendeecees Yandi and a streaming service interested in a raw, unfiltered look at their post-VH1 life. Producers were fuming. They wanted exclusivity, and the idea of two of their most bankable faces moving to a rival platform terrified them. To distract from the growing attention around Mendeecees, they leaked teasers from the upcoming Love and Hip Hop reboot. In one scene, Trey was seen flirting with Sasha, the same girl who had broken up with his best friend 2 weeks prior, and Crystal confronted him on camera, screaming, "You just love being messy." He shouted back, "Don't play victim when you're the one starting drama for clout." It was classic TV gold, but fans weren't convinced. Comments flooded in. "This feels forced. They trying too hard. Bring back the real ones." The backlash hit hard. Even crew members whispered that the reboot didn't have the same fire. "The energy's different," one cameraman admitted anonymously. "The originals fought like family. These new people just want followers." But just when the producers thought they'd lost control of the narrative, something unexpected happened. Crystal went live late one night, visibly upset. "You know what's funny?" she said tearfully. "Everybody talking about how we replaced them, but nobody talks about how we were set up. They put us in rooms meant to break us. They feed drama to the blogs. And if we react, we're the problem." It was raw and emotional, and fans began to sympathize with her. Hashtags like #JusticeForCrystal started trending. Even Rashida reposted a quote about young women being manipulated by TV politics. The tides began to shift. Suddenly, instead of old versus new, fans started attacking the network. They accused VH1 of manufacturing chaos, exploiting both sides, and hiding behind editing tricks. As outrage grew, a former producer stepped forward, confirming what fans had suspected. In an explosive podcast interview, she revealed that the network had intentionally leaked the firing news early to spark social media wars. "They wanted free promo," she said. They knew Kirk and Mendeecees had loyal fan bases that would fight to defend them. "The revelation shocked everyone," Kirk tweeted. "So we were right all along." And Mendeecees reposted it with the caption, "Never underestimate the power of truth." Crystal and Trey stayed quiet, though insiders said they were considering walking out of filming unless VH1 issued a statement. Fans called for boycotts, demanding accountability. In the chaos, one rumor stood out. An anonymous source claimed that VH1 executives were preparing an emergency meeting to discuss rehiring the original cast for a reunion special that would address the controversy. Social media exploded again. "If they bring back the originals, it's over for the newbies," someone wrote. "That reunion would break the internet," another added. Producers, sensing the opportunity, leaned in. They quietly reached out to both sides, proposing a sit-down event that would clear the air. Kirk was skeptical, Rashida cautious, but Mendeecees was ready. "They think they can play me," he told Yandi. "Watch how I turn this around." Meanwhile, Trey and Crystal debated whether to even show up. "If they just want to humiliate us," Trey warned, "I'm out." Crystal hesitated, biting her lip. "No," she said softly. "We go. If they want a show, we'll give them one, but on our terms." The stage was set. What began as a firing had evolved into a full-blown war between generations, reputations, and egos. Every side was preparing for the confrontation that could make or break their legacy. And the entire internet was watching, waiting for that one fateful episode that promised to change everything. The reunion filming day arrived like a storm, cameras everywhere, security tighter than ever, and every cast member walking in with their own silent agenda. Kirk and Rashida arrived first, both dressed immaculately but with the tension in their eyes impossible to hide. "You ready for this?" Rashida asked under her breath as they approached the studio doors. Kirk exhaled, glancing at the wall of flashing lights. "Been ready," he said, though the tremor in his voice gave away the truth. This wasn't just another show for them, it was about pride, legacy, and proving they were still the heartbeat of love and hip-hop. Minutes later, Mendeecees and Yandi entered from the opposite side, both calm and composed, though you could sense the storm brewing beneath their smiles. Yandi whispered, "Just keep it professional," but Mendeecees wasn't built for subtlety. "Nah," he said, jaw clenched. "They wanted drama. I'll give them real." When the new cast arrived, Crystal, leading with her flawless hair and piercing confidence, the energy in the room shifted instantly. The crowd outside screamed as the two generations faced each other for the first time under the glaring lights. Crystal smirked when she spotted Rashida. "Oh, look who decided to show up," she said loud enough for the mics to catch. Rashida didn't even blink. "Baby, I built what you're standing on," she replied coolly, crossing her legs as she took her seat. "Don't ever forget that." The audience gasped. From the moment the reunion started, you could feel producers salivating behind the cameras. The host tried to keep things cordial, asking both sides how they felt about the changing of the guard. But it didn't take long for the piece to shatter. Kirk leaned forward, glaring across the stage. "Changing of the guard? More like disrespect," he snapped. "You don't build a house and then get kicked out by the guests." Trey rolled his eyes. "Man, ain't nobody kicked you out. You got comfortable. We came to work." Mendeecees chuckled darkly. "Work or pretend? I seen your little storyline. Y'all rehearsed arguments can't touch real life." Crystal jumped in before Trey could respond. "Please. Your real life was half fake too. Y'all think we don't know about all that producer protection you got." Her words landed hard. Kirk's face tightened. Rashida whispered something under her breath, but Mendeecees leaned into his mic. "Protection? Girl, I did years. Don't talk about me like I'm soft. And yet here you are." Crystal shot back, fighting to stay relevant on a stage you don't even belong to anymore. Gasps filled the studio. The tension broke completely when Mendeecees stood up. Security stepped forward immediately, the host trying to calm him down, but his anger was boiling over. "Nah, let her talk," he barked. "This what y'all wanted, right? Go ahead, keep disrespecting people who made this show mean something." Crystal held her ground, her chin raised high. "What made this show mean something was the fans," she said coldly, "and they're tired of your recycled drama." The silence that followed felt heavy, like the air itself didn't know where to go. Even Kirk paused, recognizing that the audience was now watching something deeper than television. It was a generational reckoning. The old guard facing the mirror of their own legacy. Yandi finally stepped in, her voice calm but cutting through the noise. "Maybe we're all forgetting something," she said. "None of us own this stage. The network does. They use us, they twist our lives, and when we stop entertaining, they replace us. We're out here fighting each other when the real ones laughing are sitting in the control room." Her words hit like a slap of truth. For a moment, no one spoke. The host, clearly caught off guard, tried to pivot back to lighter questions, but the tone had shifted completely. Fans watching live on social media began flooding comment sections with praise for Yandi's honesty. "She the only one keeping it real," one wrote. Finally someone said it. But the peace didn't last, because just as the conversation started cooling, Trey leaned back and muttered something that wasn't meant for the mic. "Guess being fake deep pays bills." Mendeecees heard it. Before anyone could react, he lunged, not in a full attack, but enough for security to swarm him instantly. The crowd screamed, cameras zoomed in, and the clip went viral before the reunion even finished taping. It was pandemonium. By the time they cleared the stage, producers were smiling ear to ear. They had exactly what they wanted, real chaos wrapped in perfect television packaging. But for the cast, the damage was personal. Backstage, Yandi confronted Mendeecees. "You promised me you'd keep your cool," she said, her voice breaking. He threw up his hands. "I did, until that clown started talking slick. I'm not built to just sit there. They're going to spin this against you again," she warned. "You think they care about the truth?" Elsewhere in the dressing room, Crystal sat alone, her hands shaking slightly. Despite her confident act on stage, the confrontation had rattled her. Trey entered quietly, dropping a water bottle beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, I just didn't think it would get that real." "It's always real," Trey said, his tone softer now. "This ain't acting. These people been through it. We walked into their storm." That moment of honesty between them would later be one of the few human parts fans clung to when the reunion aired, because when it did, the internet lost its collective mind. Every major blog posted snippets. "Mendeecees is loses control. Crystal stands her ground. Yandi breaks the fourth wall." Hashtags trended for days. VH1 executives couldn't believe the numbers. Ratings hit a 3-year high. Even critics who'd long called the show played out admitted it felt alive again. But not everyone was celebrating. Kirk was furious. "They edited it to make us look like villains," he told Rashida as they watched the final cut at home. "They cut out everything we said about the network lying to us." Rashida's eyes were red. "That's what they do, Kirk. They build you up just to tear you down again." Across town, Crystal scrolled through her comments, half praise, half hate. One message stood out. "You handled yourself like a queen, but don't trust them producers." She read it twice, then whispered to herself, "Maybe it's time I stop letting them write my story." The aftermath of the reunion was a whirlwind. Mendeecees' outburst became meme material. But Yandi's monologue was shared on every platform, turning her into an unexpected voice for reality TV reform. Talk shows invited her on, podcasts begged for interviews. And soon she was announcing her own docuseries, one that promised to reveal the truth behind reality television. The move blindsided VH1. In retaliation, they leaked behind-the-scenes footage of Mendeecees arguing with a producer, hoping to discredit them both. It backfired. Fans rallied behind the couple, calling the leak proof of how manipulative the network had become. At the same time, Trey and Crystal received an offer from a rival platform to lead a spin-off show titled Next in Line. It was pitched as a raw, unfiltered look at what it's like to carry the weight of replacing legends. The irony was perfect. Within weeks, both the old and new cast had found ways to outgrow the system that once controlled them. But the drama wasn't done. In a shocking twist, a whistleblower from the production team leaked confidential emails revealing that the firings of Kirk and Mendeecees had been planned a year earlier, not because of creative direction, but because the network wanted younger faces for cheaper contracts. The revelation sent shockwaves through the industry. Headlines screamed, "VH1 exposed for exploiting stars." Love and hip-hop firings were premeditated. Kirk posted a single message, "Truth always wins." Yandi commented under it, "And karma never misses." VH1 scrambled to control the narrative, releasing a carefully worded statement, claiming creative evolution and fresh opportunities. But it only made things worse. Fans organized online petitions demanding justice for the fired cast. Some even called for a boycott. In the midst of the chaos, one final meeting was arranged off-camera, private, between both cast groups. It wasn't for publicity. It was for closure. They met in a quiet lounge, away from the lights. Kirk was the first to speak. "I ain't got beef with none of y'all," he said. "It's the game that's messed up." Crystal nodded. "Same here. We walked in blind. They told us to be you, but they didn't say it would mean replacing you." Mendeecees cracked a rare smile. "Guess now, we all know how it feels to be played." The room fell silent for a moment, and then, unexpectedly, laughter broke the tension. Real laughter, bitter, exhausted, but genuine. Rashida leaned forward. "You know what would really hurt them," she said, "if we all stopped fighting and did something together." Everyone looked at her, intrigued. Trey asked, "Like what?" She smiled slowly. "A new show. Our own. No producers twisting our words. Just truth." The idea hung in the air like a spark ready to ignite. Within months, whispers began circulating that a joint project was in the works, one that would feature both old and new faces, united not by rivalry but by rebellion. The network tried to stop it, of course, sending cease and desist letters and threatening contracts, but it was too late. Fans had already chosen sides, and for once, the people who built the drama were the ones writing the ending. And though the cameras might have stopped rolling for Love and Hip Hop, the real story, the story of power, betrayal, and redemption, was only just beginning. The project that started as a whisper soon became a movement. Across social media, the hashtag Own Your Story began trending, as fans demanded updates about Kirk, Rashida, Mendeecees, Yandi, Crystal, and Trey's rumored collaboration. Entertainment blogs posted daily speculations, claiming deals were being signed behind closed doors and that multiple streaming platforms were fighting to secure exclusive rights. The more VH1 tried to suppress the story, the bigger it got. By the time the first official teaser dropped a simple black screen with the words, "We're done being controlled," the internet erupted, millions of views within hours. People were calling it the reality TV revolution. Kirk, once dismissed as washed up, had suddenly become the face of rebellion. Rashida, ever the strategist, used her boutique eyes. "Man, ain't nobody kicked you out. You got comfortable. We came to work." Mendeecees chuckled darkly. "Work or pretend? I seen your little storyline. Y'all rehearsed arguments can't touch real life." Crystal jumped in before Trey could respond. "Please. Your real life was half fake too. Y'all think we don't know about all that producer protection you got." Her words landed hard. Kirk's face tightened. Rashida whispered something under her breath, but Mendeecees leaned into his mic. "Protection. Girl. I did years. Don't talk about me like I'm soft. And yet here you are." Crystal shot back, fighting to stay relevant on a stage you don't even belong to anymore. Gasps filled the studio. The tension broke completely when Mendeecees stood up. Security stepped forward immediately, the host trying to calm him down, but his anger was boiling over. "Nah, let her talk," he barked. "This what y'all wanted, right? Go ahead, keep disrespecting people who made this show mean something." Crystal held her ground, her chin raised high. "What made this show mean something was the fans," she said coldly, "and they're tired of your recycled drama." The silence that followed felt heavy, like the air itself didn't know where to go. Even Kirk paused, recognizing that the audience was now watching something deeper than television. It was a generational reckoning. The old guard facing the mirror of their own legacy. Yandi finally stepped in, her voice calm but cutting through the noise. "Maybe we're all forgetting something," she said. "None of us own this stage. The network does. They use us, they twist our lives, and when we stop entertaining, they replace us. We're out here fighting each other when the real ones laughing are sitting in the control room." Her words hit like a slap of truth. For a moment, no one spoke. The host, clearly caught off guard, tried to pivot back to lighter questions, but the tone had shifted completely. Fans watching live on social media began flooding comment sections with praise for Yandi's honesty. "She the only one keeping it real," one wrote. Finally someone said it. But the peace didn't last, because just as the conversation started cooling, Trey leaned back and muttered something that wasn't meant for the mic. "Guess being fake deep pays bills." Mendeecees heard it. Before anyone could react, he lunged, not in a full attack, but enough for security to swarm him instantly. The crowd screamed, cameras zoomed in, and the clip went viral before the reunion even finished taping. It was pandemonium. By the time they cleared the stage, producers were smiling ear to ear. They had exactly what they wanted, real chaos wrapped in perfect television packaging. But for the cast, the damage was personal. Backstage, Yandi confronted Mendeecees. "You promised me you'd keep your cool," she said, her voice breaking. He threw up his hands. "I did, until that clown started talking slick. I'm not built to just sit there. They're going to spin this against you again," she warned. "You think they care about the truth?" Elsewhere in the dressing room, Crystal sat alone, her hands shaking slightly. Despite her confident act on stage, the confrontation had rattled her. Trey entered quietly, dropping a water bottle beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, I just didn't think it would get that real." "It's always real," Trey said, his tone softer now. "This ain't acting. These people been through it. We walked into their storm." That moment of honesty between them would later be one of the few human parts fans clung to when the reunion aired. Because when it did, the internet lost its collective mind. Every major blog posted snippets. "Mendeecees is loses control." Crystal stands her ground. Yandi breaks the fourth wall. Hashtags trended for days. VH1 executives couldn't believe the numbers. Ratings hit a 3-year high. Even critics who'd long called the show played out admitted it felt alive again. But not everyone was celebrating. Kirk was furious. "They edited it to make us look like villains," he told Rashida as they watched the final cut at home. "They cut out everything we said about the network lying to us." Rashida's eyes were red. "That's what they do, Kirk. They build you up just to tear you down again." Across town, Crystal scrolled through her comments, half praise, half hate. One message stood out. "You handled yourself like a queen, but don't trust them producers." She read it twice, then whispered to herself, "Maybe it's time I stop letting them write my story." The aftermath of the reunion was a whirlwind. Mendeecees' outburst became meme material. But Yandi's monologue was shared on every platform, turning her into an unexpected voice for reality TV reform. Talk shows invited her on. Podcasts begged for interviews. And soon she was announcing her own docuseries, one that promised to reveal the truth behind reality television. The move blindsided VH1. In retaliation, they leaked behind-the-scenes footage of Mendeecees arguing with a producer, hoping to discredit them both. It backfired. Fans rallied behind the couple, calling the leak proof of how manipulative the network had become. At the same time, Trey and Crystal received an offer from a rival platform to lead a spin-off show titled Next in Line. It was pitched as a raw, unfiltered look at what it's like to carry the weight of replacing legends. The irony was perfect. Within weeks, both the old and new cast had found ways to outgrow the system that once controlled them. But the drama wasn't done. In a shocking twist, a whistleblower from the production team leaked confidential emails revealing that the firings of Kirk and Mendeecees had been planned a year earlier, not because of creative direction, but because the network wanted younger faces for cheaper contracts. The revelation sent shockwaves through the industry. Headlines screamed, VH1 exposed for exploiting stars. Love and hip-hop firings were premeditated. Kirk posted a single message, "Truth always wins." Yandhi commented under it, "And karma never misses." VH1 scrambled to control the narrative, releasing a carefully worded statement, claiming creative evolution and fresh opportunities. But it only made things worse. Fans organized online petitions demanding justice for the fired cast. Some even called for a boycott. In the midst of the chaos, one final meeting was arranged off-camera, private, between both cast groups. It wasn't for publicity. It was for closure. They met in a quiet lounge, away from the lights. Kirk was the first to speak. "I ain't got beef with none of y'all," he said. "It's the game that's messed up." Crystal nodded. "Same here. We walked in blind. They told us to be you, but they didn't say it would mean replacing you." Mendeecees cracked a rare smile. "Guess now, we all know how it feels to be played." The room fell silent for a moment, and then, unexpectedly, laughter broke the tension. Real laughter, bitter, exhausted, but genuine. Rashida leaned forward. "You know what would really hurt them," she said, "if we all stopped fighting and did something together." Everyone looked at her, intrigued. Trey asked, "Like what?" She smiled slowly. "A new show. Our own. No producers twisting our words. Just truth." The idea hung in the air like a spark ready to ignite. Within months, whispers began circulating that a joint project was in the works, one that would feature both old and new faces, united not by rivalry but by rebellion. The network tried to stop it, of course, sending cease and desist letters and threatening contracts, but it was too late. Fans had already chosen sides, and for once, the people who built the drama were the ones writing the ending. And though the cameras might have stopped rolling for Love and Hip Hop, the real story, the story of power, betrayal, and redemption, was only just beginning. The project that started as a whisper soon became a movement. Across social media, the hashtag Own Your Story began trending, as fans demanded updates about Kirk, Rashida, Mendeecees, Yandhi, Crystal, and Trey's rumored collaboration. Entertainment blogs posted daily speculations, claiming deals were being signed behind closed doors and that multiple streaming platforms were fighting to secure exclusive rights. The more VH1 tried to suppress the story, the bigger it got. By the time the first official teaser dropped a simple black screen with the words, "We're done being controlled," the internet erupted, millions of views within hours. People were calling it the reality TV revolution. Kirk, once dismissed as washed up, had suddenly become the face of rebellion. Rashida, ever the strategist, used her boutique brand as a promotional powerhouse, dropping limited edition shirts with slogans like "Real doesn't need editing" and "Uncut and unapologetic." They sold out within a day. Mendeecees and Yandhi took a different route, using their platform to speak about exploitation in entertainment. Yandhi gave a fiery interview where she said, "They used our pain to sell ads. Now we're taking that pain and turning it into purpose." Her quote was plastered across headlines everywhere. Meanwhile, Crystal and Trey, despite early doubts, were emerging as fan favorites. They weren't the villains anymore, they were survivors too. Crystal posted a heartfelt video on her Instagram, saying, "People thought we wanted to replace legends. We never did. We just wanted our chance to shine without being puppets." That vulnerability struck a chord. Thousands of comments poured in, calling her brave for speaking out. Even Rashida commented under the post, "Respect for saying what needed to be said." It was the moment that shifted everything. The war that had once divided the old and new cast was officially over. What replaced it was unity, and that terrified VH1. The network scrambled to protect its brand, releasing a new era trailer for Love and Hip Hop featuring an entirely fresh lineup of unknowns. but it flopped spectacularly. Fans flooded the comments section with clown emojis and boycott messages. "No Kirk, no Mendeecees, no watch," one wrote. "Bring back the real," said another. The show's ratings plummeted. Blogs called it the death of a reality empire. And in that void, the new project began to rise. Titled Raw and Unfiltered, it was everything love and hip-hop wasn't. No producers, no fake storylines, no forced conflicts. Just the truth. The trailer opened with Kirk looking straight into the camera saying, "They thought we couldn't tell our stories without them. They were wrong." Then came clips of Yandi comforting Mendeecees during a tough moment, Crystal laughing behind the scenes, Rashida and Trey arguing playfully in a studio session. It wasn't chaos, it was human. And that's what made it powerful. Fans were obsessed before the first episode even aired. When it finally premiered, the internet practically froze. Millions tuned in to watch what critics were calling a rebellion disguised as a reality show. The premiere episode broke streaming records, leaving VH1 executives stunned. Even major celebrities tweeted their support. Cardi B posted, "This the realest thing I seen on TV in years." The success was immediate, but behind the victory was exhaustion. The journey had cost them all more than they let on. During one emotional moment on the show, Rashida admitted, "There were nights I cried because I didn't know if we made the right choice. But looking around now, I see we did." Kirk reached for her hand, saying softly, "We got our power back." That line became iconic, quoted everywhere from talk shows to fan tattoos. But while the cast was celebrating their newfound freedom, VH1 wasn't done fighting. The network filed a lawsuit claiming breach of contract, attempting to block Raw and Unfiltered from airing. The case quickly became national news. Entertainment lawyers debated it on live TV, and the public overwhelmingly sided with the cast. Mendeecees, standing on courthouse steps with cameras flashing, told reporters, "This isn't just about us. It's about every artist who's ever been silenced by a contract." It was a defining moment. A few weeks later, the court ruled in their favor. They were officially free. The judgment sent shockwaves through the industry, setting a new precedent for creative independence in reality television. When the cast heard the verdict, they embraced each other in tears. Even Trey, who had always kept his emotions guarded, broke down. "We really did it," he said quietly. "We took our names back." Crystal smiled through her tears. "And we did it together." That night, the entire team hosted a private celebration dinner. It wasn't flashy, just laughter, candles, and music playing softly in the background. Kirk raised a glass and said, "To every time they doubted us." Yandi added, "To every contract they used to control us." Rashida finished the toast. "And to every moment we stopped playing their game." The clinking of glasses was followed by silence, a peaceful kind of silence that only comes when a long fight finally ends. But while the story seemed to close there, life had one more twist waiting. A month after the show's release, a mysterious email reached the cast's team. It was from a former VH1 executive who had been quietly following their journey. The message read, "You don't know me, but I was part of the system that hurt you. I left because of what they did. I have documents that could expose everything they tried to hide." Attached were confidential files, proof of manipulated contracts, fake storylines, and evidence that certain producers had deliberately leaked private information to the press. It was the kind of revelation that could dismantle the entire network's credibility. Mendeecees, ever the realist, suggested caution. "This could get ugly," he warned. But Kirk's eyes burned with conviction. "No, if we're really about the truth, we can't stop now." After days of discussion, they agreed to release the documents, but not through gossip blogs. Instead, they filmed a special episode titled The Receipts, where they laid out everything on camera. Emails, texts, production notes, nothing was off. The reaction was nuclear. Fans were enraged. Former cast members from other reality shows came forward, sharing their own horror stories. Suddenly, Raw and Unfiltered wasn't just entertainment, it was a movement for accountability. Major networks issued public statements promising reform in production practices. Even VH1, under immense public pressure, announced a leadership overhaul. Crystal summed it up best during the final moments of The Receipts. "They tried to make us replaceable," she said, "but we became untouchable." As the credits rolled, a soft instrumental played while the cast was shown laughing, hugging, and walking away from the set together. No screaming, no staged drama, just peace. The screen faded to black, and the final message appeared. "Real stories can't be fired." Fans everywhere took screenshots, reposted the line, and called it the most iconic ending in reality TV history. Kirk and Rashida launched a foundation supporting aspiring creators. Yandi began working with young women in entertainment to help them understand contracts. Trey and Crystal started their own media company focused on giving new talent a voice. For once, everyone was free, not just from the cameras, but from the labels that had defined them for so long. Love and Hip Hop might have ended their contracts, but it had unknowingly started their legacy. And in the end, the same network that fired them had given them the greatest gift of all, the reason to rise higher than ever. As the sun went down over Atlanta that night, the city felt heavier than usual, like it was holding its breath. Love and Hip Hop fans were glued to their phones, waiting for any update, any clue about what had gone down on set. A few crew members began posting cryptic tweets. Longest day ever. Can't believe what I just saw. And season 12 is about to be wild. And just like that, the rumor mill spun out of control. But what nobody expected was that Kirk and Mendeecees' exit wasn't as clean as everyone thought. Both men were furious, both felt blindsided, and both were planning to expose what really happened behind the cameras. Kirk, pacing in his living room that night, was fuming. They think they can replace me like I'm some extra. I built this damn show, he shouted, tossing his phone onto the couch. Rashida sat quietly, scrolling through comments flooding her Instagram. Babe, people think you got fired because of me, she whispered, her voice cracking. Kirk glared. That's what they want the world to think. They're trying to turn us against each other. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was at a downtown studio, still in disbelief. They told me to take a break, he said to his friend Scrap. A break? From what? Being real. Scrap shrugged. Bro, they're trying to make room for that new crew. You know how this game go. Out with the old, in with the messy. Mendeecees clenched his jaw. Nah, not like. Mendeecees clenched his jaw. Nah, not like this. They don't get to rewrite my story. The producers were in full panic mode. The firings had leaked too early, and social media was eating it up. #JusticeFork trended for hours, while fans accused VH1 of disrespecting the original cast that built the franchise. Inside the production office, executive producer Carla was losing her mind. We wanted buzz, not a civil war, she said, slamming her coffee cup on the table. Another producer replied nervously, it's already viral. We can either deny it or lean into it. Carla sighed, rubbing her temples. Fine, lean into it, but if we're bringing in new faces, they better bring chaos. Big chaos. The next morning, bloggers were already dropping names. The first rumored replacement was a fiery R&B singer named Ivy Rose, known for her sharp tongue, flawless hair, and a past relationship with a certain Atlanta rapper she wasn't supposed to name. Then there was Nova Banks, a 23-year-old influencer who had been caught sneaking out of a hotel with a married music executive. And finally, there was Malik Stona, retired basketball player, who had been quietly kicked off his team after a scandal involving leaked texts and an assistant coach's wife. The internet was already divided. Some fans said, this new cast finna save the show, while others wrote, we don't care about these newbies. Bring back the real drama. Ivy, meanwhile, saw it all as her big break. She posted a boomerang of her champagne glass clinking with the caption, New Era Loading. That post alone got over 100K likes in an hour. Behind the scenes, Rashida tried to calm Kirk down. We can walk away from this with grace, she said softly. Kirk shook his head. Nah, we're not walking, we're fighting. He started calling old cast members Erica Dixon, Carly Red, even Scrappy, trying to rally them against the network. They think they can erase us. Let's see how their ratings look without us. Erica laughed bitterly. You know how they do. One season you're the face, the next, you're a flashback clip. Still, she agreed something felt off. The timing don't make sense, she said. You and Mendeecees both out. That's not coincidence. And she was right. Rumors soon surfaced that a secret meeting had taken place weeks earlier, where producers discussed refreshing the brand and targeting a younger audience after ratings dropped. They're calling it Operation New Blood, a source leaked. They want social media stars, controversy magnets, and headline chasers. By Friday, both Kirk and Mendeecees were ready to go public. Mendeecees recorded a live video, his tone calm but bitter. They said they wanted authenticity, he told his followers. But when real life hit, they couldn't handle it, so they cut the people who made this show what it is. Fans flooded the comments, calling for a boycott. We riding with you? One wrote, Love and Hip Hop ain't Love and Hip Hop without Mendeecees, another said. But the plot thickened when Ivy Rose, the new cast member, jumped into the live chat and commented, time for a new era, old man. That one comment sent the internet into chaos. Within minutes, Shade Room reposted it. Headlines screamed new cast member, comes for Mendeecees. And suddenly, Ivy was trending worldwide. Producers were thrilled. Carla smirked when she saw the numbers. Good, she said, let the drama sell itself. But things got darker when a private recording surfaced an alleged leaked phone call between Kirk and a producer, where Kirk accused them of manipulating Rashida's storyline for ratings. Y'all used my marriage for clout, he said on the call. Every fight, every tear. Y'all edited it to make me the villain. The producer replied coldly, it's television. Kirk, you signed up for this. The audio went viral, and public sympathy began to swing in Kirk's favor. Rashida, meanwhile, broke her silence with an emotional Instagram post. This journey has been beautiful but heavy. Sometimes, walking away is the only way to heal. Fans flooded her comments with support, and suddenly, the couple that everyone once mocked became the franchise's tragic heroes. Rashida deserved better, one comment said. She carried this show for years. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was not done. He reached out to a popular blogger, promising to spill everything they don't want you to know. That interview was scheduled for Sunday night, and the anticipation was off the charts. But right before it aired, the blogger mysteriously canceled, claiming network pressure. Mendeecees was furious. They trying to silence me now, he told Yen. She frowned. They can't silence the truth, baby. Just wait, they'll slip up. And slip up they did. On Monday, a leaked production memo circulated online, confirming a restructuring of key cast positions and listing Kirk and Mendeecees as inactive pending replacement. The damage was done. The show's credibility was under fire. Fans demanded answers. And in the middle of it all, Ivy Rose was spotted filming a new scene with Nova and Malik at an exclusive Atlanta rooftop party where a massive fight reportedly broke out over a man they were all secretly connected to. The producers couldn't have written it better. Carla was thrilled. This is gold, she told her team. They're fighting on camera before the first episode even airs. But what Carla didn't know was that Kirk had just received a call from an insider, offering him something dangerous, a full copy of unedited footage showing how producers staged half the drama between him and Rashida. Kirk leaned back in his chair, grinning darkly. So they want to play dirty? He said. Fine, let's play. And as Atlanta buzzed with rumors, betrayals, and shifting loyalties, one thing was clear. Love and Hip Hop wasn't just a show anymore. It was war. 2 weeks passed and Atlanta was still on fire. Blogs, gossip pages, and fan accounts were posting non-stop about the chaos that had taken over Love and Hip Hop. Kirk and Mendeecees might have been gone from the cameras, but they were the only names anyone was talking about. Both men had become symbols of rebellion against the network, and every fan post, every trending hashtag, was feeding the tension. Rashida had started keeping a low profile, focusing on her business, but her silence only made the rumors grow louder. Is she divorcing Kirk? Fans kept asking. Did she side with VH1? Meanwhile, Mendeecees and Yandi were reportedly on the brink of a separation themselves. This whole thing broke them. One source told a blog. The pressure, the lies, the constant online hates, it's too much. But just when everyone thought things couldn't get any worse, Kirk dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Without warning, he uploaded a 20-minute video titled The Truth VH1 Didn't Want You to See. The thumbnail showed him sitting in a dark room, a stack of papers on the table, and the words "No More Lies" written across the screen. Within minutes, the video had over 200,000 views. Kirk spoke slowly, his voice steady but cold. For years, I let them twist my life into a storyline, he said. They told me how to argue with my wife, how to cry, how to act like I was the bad guy. But what they didn't tell y'all was how far they went to make it look real. Then he played several uncut clips from filming scenes showing producers whispering instructions right before a fight, or staging text messages to make it seem like Kirk had been unfaithful. The footage was raw, shaky, and damning. This right here, Kirk continued, is how they destroy families for views. Fans were outraged. The video spread across every platform. Hashtags like #boycott LHH and #FreeKirk and RASHEEDA trended for days. Even former castmates began speaking out, saying they too had been manipulated. I knew it, one wrote. We all been puppets. VH1's legal team moved fast. issuing takedown requests and claiming the footage violated confidentiality agreements. But it was too late. Copies had already been saved and shared by fans everywhere. Kirk had exposed the machine. The network went into damage control. Executives were calling emergency meetings, lawyers were sending letters, and producers were told to stay silent online. But Carla, the executive producer, wasn't done fighting. If he wants war, he'll get war, she said in a tense phone call. We'll leak something that buries him. And within 48 hours, a new scandal broke, one that painted Kirk as the villain all over again. A blog posted alleged messages between Kirk and a younger woman, suggesting he'd been seeing her behind asterisk. Rashida's back during the final season. Screenshots showed flirty texts, hotel addresses, and one voice note that sounded eerily like him. The timing was too perfect. They dropped this to distract us, fans argued, but the internet doesn't wait for proof. Within hours, Kirk's reputation took another hit. Rashida, silent for weeks, finally posted a short message. Truth always comes to light, one way or another. That one line sent everyone into a frenzy. Did she believe the rumors? Or was she just done defending him? Kirk, furious, fired back in another video. Those texts are fake, he said. They made this up because I exposed them. I'm not playing their game anymore. But even as he tried to fight back, something about his tone sounded broken. Meanwhile, the new Love and Hip Hop cast was filming their first official group scene, a luxury brunch meant to introduce them to the world. Ivy Rose arrived in a shimmering red dress, Nova wore diamond-studded sunglasses, and Malik Stone rolled up in a matte black Lamborghini. Everything was supposed to be perfect, but perfection never lasts on this show. Halfway through filming, Nova confronted Ivy over rumors that she'd been talking to Malik behind her back. You think I don't know? Nova snapped, flipping her hair. Girl, Atlanta small. Ivy smirked. You mad cuzzy and call you back? Malik laughed awkwardly, trying to defuse it, but it was too late. Nova threw her mimosa in Ivy's face. Ivy swung her purse, and chaos erupted. Security rushed in, producers shouted, and cameras caught every second. By the next morning, that single fight clip leaked online and hit 3 million views in less than 12 hours. Carla smiled watching it. This is it, she said to her assistant. The show's back. No one's gonna remember Kirk after this. But she was wrong, because Kirk had one last card to play, and it was bigger than anyone expected. That night, he met secretly with a former producer named Tasha, who had recently been fired. She handed him a flash drive. Everything's on here, she whispered. Emails, footage, payments, proof that they fabricated storylines for years. Kirk's eyes widened. Why you helping me? Tasha smiled bitterly. Because I'm tired of being part of a lie. Kirk nodded. Then it's time to finish what we started. The next day, Mendeecees joined him. The two men hadn't spoken since their firings, but now they shared a common goal. We expose them together, Mendeecees said. You drop your footage, I'll drop mine. Kirk agreed. They took everything from us, our names, our marriages, our image. Time they paid for it. Together, they planned a joint live stream. Word spread fast. Fans began calling it the Love and Hip Hop Revolution. Even other reality stars were teasing that they might tune in for the truth. The network panicked. Executives called both men, offering private settlements and NDAs to keep them quiet. Kirk laughed. Nah, we don't want your money. We want our respect. And that line alone became a rallying cry online. On the night of the live stream, over 500,000 people tuned in. Kirk and Mendeecees sat side by side in front of a simple black backdrop. Tonight, Kirk began, we're telling y'all how this show really works. For the next hour, they broke everything down: how producers planted fake messages, edited conversations, and paid sidecast members to stir drama. They showed evidence, receipts, contracts, emails. It was the most explosive thing the reality world had ever seen. And just when viewers thought it couldn't go further, Mendeecees played an unreleased clip showing a producer begging him to fake a fight with Yandi for ratings. We need the tears, the producer said in the clip. People love when Yandi cries. The audience online exploded. Comments flooded the screen. This is crazy. I'll never watch again. VH1 done lost their minds. The stream ended with Kirk looking directly into the camera. They built an empire off our pain, he said. But now the truth's out. The video broke the internet. Even mainstream outlets covered it. VH1 released a short statement denying the allegations, calling them taken out of context, but nobody believed it. Sponsors began pulling out, advertisers demanded meetings, and insiders claimed the network might even shut down production. Carla, meanwhile, sat in her office, staring at her phone as messages poured in from angry executives. "This is a disaster," one text read. "You've lost control of the narrative." But Carla wasn't ready to give up. "If they want chaos," she whispered, "I'll give them chaos." And with that, she made a call that would drag everything even deeper into madness. Carla's call went to Ivy Rose first. The young singer picked up instantly, her tone sharp but curious. "What's good, boss?" Carla didn't waste time. "We're about to flip the story. You want to be the face of this show or not?" Ivy hesitated. "You mean, go after Kirk and Mendeecees?" Carla smiled faintly. "Exactly. They've declared war. So now we fight back on screen. I need you to say they lied. Tell the world you saw them stage their own drama." Ivy thought for a moment, weighing her hunger for fame against the risk of becoming the network's pawn. "What's in it for me?" she asked. Carla's answer was simple. "Top billing. First look deal. Your own spin-off if this works." Ivy grinned. "Say less. Let's make headlines." And with that, a new narrative began taking shape, one that would twist the truth until nobody could tell who was real anymore. The next day, Ivy went live on Instagram, her makeup flawless, her tone rehearsed but emotional. "I respected Kirk and Mendeecees," she began, "but what they're saying ain't the full story. They knew what they were signing up for. They just mad the spotlight moved on." She paused for effect, letting fake tears well in her eyes. "I was there when Kirk begged producers for more screen time. I saw Mendeecees faking phone calls on set to look dramatic. They used us new cast members for clout." Within minutes, her clip spread everywhere. Blogs titled it "Ivy Rose exposes Kirk and Mendeecees, fake storylines confirmed." And though her claims had no evidence, the public started to split. "Maybe they did fake some of it." One fan commented, "Who can you trust in reality TV?" Rashida watched the video from her bedroom, shaking her head. "This girl really thinks she can play with my husband's name," she muttered. Kirk was pacing again, his jaw tight. "Let her talk. The more she lies, the more people see what's really happening." But deep down, he was worried. Ivy's version of events was gaining traction fast. Other cast members, desperate to stay relevant, began jumping in. Nova posted a story saying, "Some of y'all need to own your mess instead of blaming producers." Malik wrote, "Real men don't cry on camera for sympathy." The network had clearly coordinated the attack. By evening, VH1's official account posted a slickly edited teaser for the upcoming season titled New Blood. Same drama. In the clip, Ivy looked straight into the camera and said, "They said we couldn't replace the legends. Watch us prove them wrong." The internet erupted. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Hashtag Team Kirk and hashtag Team Ivy trended side by side. Podcasts dissected every detail, while fan pages began digging into Ivy's past, discovering she'd once been signed to a label connected to one of VH1's executives. "It's all a setup," one fan tweeted. "Ivy's just their mouthpiece." Meanwhile, Mendeecees was growing restless. "They playing dirty now," he told Yendi. "I'm not letting them twist it." Yendi tried to calm him. "Don't stoop to their level. The truth's already out." But Mendeecees wasn't hearing it. He called Kirk. "We need to go harder. They think they can destroy us with gossip." "Nah, bro. We expose everything." Kirk sighed. "You sure? This could get ugly." Mendeecees' voice was steady. "It's already ugly." So they began digging. With Tasha's help, they uncovered old footage of cast members reading lines fed by producers. One clip showed Nova practicing fake arguments before filming. Another showed Carla herself coaching Malik on how to cry on cue. Kirk and Mendeecees sent the clips anonymously to a major gossip outlet known for never backing down the Juice Report. Within hours, the site uploaded a full expose titled "Love and Hip Hop's Dirty Secrets. Proof of Staged Drama Leaks." Love and Hip Hop's Dirty Secrets. Proof of Staged Drama Leaks. Online, the story hit harder than anyone expected. The clips were undeniable. Fans who had doubted Kirk before now turned on the network completely. Ivy Rose's credibility crumbled overnight. She said she saw Kirk faking scenes. One tweet said, "But here she is in a script rehearsal." Ivy went silent. Malik deleted his Instagram. Nova posted a vague "God knows my heart" message and disappeared from Twitter. Carla was livid. She stormed into the editing bay, yelling at her team. "How the hell did this get out?" One producer stammered. "It had to come from someone inside." Carla slammed her hands on the table. "Lock down everything. No more leaks. If Kirk and Mendeecees think they won, they're wrong." But she was losing control. Sponsors were pulling ads. Public trust was gone, and executives were questioning her leadership. One even hinted she might be next to go. Desperate, she decided to take one final risk: an on-camera confrontation. She ordered the crew to set up a private sit-down between the old and new cast, promising to air it unedited. The idea was simple. If the audience saw Kirk and Mendeecees lose their temper, it would shift sympathy back toward the show. She sent invites to everyone, framing it as a truth reunion. When Kirk arrived at the studio, he already sensed a trap. "You really think they'll play fair?" Rashida asked as she adjusted his jacket. "Nah," he said, "but let's give them what they think they want." Mendeecees showed up next, his face unreadable. "Ready?" he asked Kirk. "Always," Kirk replied. Across the room sat Ivy, Nova, Malik, and Carla herself, pretending calm. Cameras rolled. Carla began, her tone falsely sweet. "First off, I want to thank everyone for coming. There's been a lot of misinformation online, and I think it's time to clear the air." Kirk leaned forward. "Then let's start with the footage. You edited my life into a lie." Carla smiled coolly. "You signed the contract, Kirk. We all agreed to play the game." Mendeecees cut in. "A game's one thing. Destroying people's families is another." The tension was thick enough to cut. Ivy tried to jump in. "Y'all acting like victims, but you loved the fame when it suited you." Rashida turned to her slowly. "Sweetheart, fame don't mean peace. Remember that when the internet turns on you." The room fell silent. Cameras caught every glare, every twitch. Then Kirk dropped his final card. He pulled out a small envelope and slid it across the table toward Carla. "This," he said, "is every email you sent instructing editors to fabricate cheating stories. I made copies. And if this reunion airs, so do they." Carla's face froze. For the first time, she had no words. The cameras kept rolling, but nobody spoke. Finally, she stood up and walked out, her heels echoing across the studio floor. Ivy whispered, "Wait, are we still filming?" The director, pale, whispered back, "Keep the cameras rolling." By that night, word of the confrontation had leaked. Carla walks off set during reunion taping. Headlines screamed. Fans demanded the footage be released. VH1 tried to suppress it, but clips somehow found their way online anyway. One showed Kirk saying, "Truth always wins." Another showed Rashida quietly tearing up as Mendeecees hugged her. Viewers were glued to their screens. The comment sections were flooded with messages like, "This is real TV now," and they finally exposed the puppet masters. Love and hip-hop had become something it never intended to be, a mirror reflecting the chaos behind its own curtain. And while Carla plotted her next move in silence, Kirk and Mendeecees stood taller than ever, ready to reclaim not just their names, but the empire they helped build. As the chaos settled and the last whispers of Mendeecees' scandal began to fade from the gossip blogs, one thing became clear: every lie, every betrayal, every tear had rewritten the story of their love. Yandi had walked through public humiliation with quiet strength, refusing to let the noise define her. The same people who mocked her pain were now questioning their own definitions of loyalty, forgiveness, and pride. Mendeecees' world, once built on fame and temptation, was stripped bare. The man who once thought he could have everything now stood in front of the mirror, realizing that nothing he gained was worth the woman who held him down when the world turned away. Fame had made him careless. Scandal made him human. And Yandi's silence spoke louder than his apologies ever could. Behind the glitz of reality TV, this was more than just another love and hip-hop headline. It was a raw lesson in choices, in how love bends under pressure, but sometimes breaks when trust is taken for granted. As the cameras stopped rolling, and the lights dimmed, the truth remained uncut. In this world of fast fame and faster betrayal, love is not what you say, it's what you do when no one's watching. And for Mendeecees, redemption would not come through interviews or public confessions, it would come through change. Quiet and unseen. Because the spotlight fades, but consequences never do.